Nashville, Tennessee, it's the Three. With the Studio C Band. And here's your host, Laura Harris-Smith.
Welcome to the Three. I'm Laura Harris-Smith. Yeah! This is the only television show that looks at how the crazy current events shaping our world are shaping you, body, mind, and spirit. Well, as many of you know and have heard by now, more than 5 years ago, I almost lost my life. I was on the brink of adrenal failure, sometimes called adrenal fatigue, adrenal burnout, adrenal exhaustion. Stage 4 adrenal fatigue is when all of your organs actually shut down. Well, at my diagnosis, I was told I was already in stage 3 and didn't know it. My organ systems were already shutting down, in fact. It was make changes or die. And so I went on total bed rest for 3 months, and I was told that if I survived, I would take at least 18 to 24 months to do so and for me to turn my health entirely around. So happily, I did. Miraculously, it only took 6 months. Today, thank God, I'm healed. But yeah. Woo. Okay, here's where I cry, right here. But it took help. My church, Eastgate, cooked for me. My daughters served it to me. The guys at our house folded laundry, and my friends cleaned my house for 3 months. But the most important person, the MVP of my recovery, was my nutritionist. I don't know how I'm going to get through this, guys. Okay. Our mutual friend, Trish, she had told me months before that I just had to go see this nutritionist, but that it would take months to actually get in with her. So I made the appointment, and I was just waiting. And then 10 days before my appointment, I got the diagnosis of the adrenal fatigue, which interestingly enough was an accidental test that the doctor did that I had not even asked for. Well, that test result changed the nature of our entire visit altogether. Had I not had that appointment set, I'm not sure what would have happened to me, because I might not have even made it through, had I not had that appointment set and had I had to wait all of those months. Well, we got right to work, and under her spirit-led brilliance, the woman you are about to meet was used by God directly to save my life. Without her, there would be no books on nutrition, no original medicine degree, no TV show, no me. But her story is equally as amazing. At 15 years of age, she was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. She had the genetic marker, among other blood test markers, everything. And she had crippling pain, deformed feet. She used crutches, soft casts, even surgical boots to get around. She had to take prescription medication, receive cortisone shots in her joints, but didn't find much relief. And she lived in chronic pain. She was in so much pain and on so much pain medicine that she developed stomach problems, and her hair fell out, and that was really the last straw, right, ladies? I mean, when that happens, you got to do something. So she found a book called There Is a Cure for Arthritis. It drastically changed her diet. She made those choices to do that, and the healing began. But as often does happen when healing begins, a healing crisis followed. Her symptoms worsened for 3 months. She finally had her first good day at 6 months, and at 12 months, she finally went into remission, and this is just at the age of 20. As so often happens when you go through a crisis, it winds up becoming your platform. So she went on to earn her bachelor's and master's in nutrition. And she interned with some natural practitioners in Colorado and began taking consultations. And she's still doing that today. And aren't I glad she does? She's my nutritionist, my mentor, my friend, and now I can also say she's my show guest. So please welcome with me to the Three, Elizabeth Reed. I was telling her why I didn't put Kleenex on stage or somewhere. Well, thank you so much for being here, first of all. And thank you for everything that you do. I know that we have a very few minutes together. I know when I come to your office for a visit, we'll have 4 hours, you know, that 3-4 hours. You are literally interested in the entire story of a person's body, not just treating one part or that part, but how does it all fit together? We can't ever seem to get out of there, so we have 30 minutes. This is going to be quick, so I'm going to stop fawning over you, and I'm just going to move right to something that is just so key, and I want our viewers to figure out. It's so simple, but it's so profound. How can past trauma affect your health now?
That's a really big topic, and I just want to start by saying, isn't it great that God never wastes our pain?
I know, that is true.
It's never wasted.
Never, not a single ounce of it.
Yeah. A lot of the new research on trauma is because we have so much more brain imaging, and a lot more research is coming out on how the brain works. So everybody talks about fight or flight response, but nobody really thinks about the freeze response, and that's just now becoming more and more a hot topic. So when we have the freeze response, our whole nervous system activates. So our parasympathetic and sympathetic activate, and when that happens, it sets off the mechanisms that store the trauma in our body.
Right.
And when that affects us long term and stays trapped, the repercussions are endless. But let's just do 2 simple things. Exocrine glands, they're affected by stored body trauma.
Right.
So 2 of the glands that most of us, if we've had health problems, understand are pancreas, that squirts out digestive enzymes, and our gallbladder and liver biliary route, which helps detox, helps get rid of old hormones, helps digest fats. So if those things aren't working right, you can imagine the plethora of digestive issues, hormone issues, detox issues, the list goes on.
I mean, it just goes on forever. And so some people, they then go try to treat that symptom, and they're not dealing with the root of it. And it's just an endless cycle. I feel sorry for people, I really do, who don't know this. This is why we're doing this show, so that you can know this. So what can they do? Where do they start?
Well, I think anyone that's suffering from digestive issues or autoimmune issues, where their immune system is turning against themselves, there's a lot more research to show that stored body trauma is affecting that and can play a part in that. So I love Dr. Jim Wilder's resource. He's a PhD in psychology. He has a website, Joy Starts Here.
Joy Starts Here.
Yeah, joystartshere.com. He's got wonderful resources. He explains that you can have trauma from absence of things. So a lot of people think, nothing bad ever happened to me. But they don't realize that the absence of something they needed and didn't get actually can create the same trauma that can store things in your body and affect your health years later. So.
And of course, there's our dependence upon God. Those things are often, they will drive us to Him, and that is good, and He is our healer. I remember you saying to me when I came to you, and I had this list of changes that I needed to make, and most people would have said, I even said, this is really overwhelming, but compared to dying, I mean, what's the alternative, you know? And so that's much harder, and on everyone that you leave. So I think the thing for me was to realize that, yes, He is my healer, but I have a part to play in this. And I remember you saying to me when I said, I don't know how I'm going to eat organic. I don't know how we're going to afford this. We had all these children. And so I remember I had my little shelf on the mom's shelf. I had a sign. It said mom's shelf in the pantry. And now it's the whole pantry. Everybody eats like this, you know. But you actually said to me, and something you just said reminded me of this, you actually said to me, well, whatever you can't get that's just exactly what your body needs, pray over it. You know, you go through seasons where you just can't. But I can tell you, from the moment we made that decision, we have never been without. God has provided for me to do the things and eat the things that He gave us on the 3rd day of creation. Well, that leads me to a topic that really a mineral, the miracle mineral. What I really wish that everybody would be on, and I sing its praises all the time, is magnesium. It did a huge work in my busy brain with the history that I have neurologically, but it controls like over 300 and something metabolic processes in the body.
They used to say 325. The number is now up to, they're thinking about 800.
Really?
Yes. It went up to about 500 about 10 years ago, and now they're saying they
Wow.
think 700 to 800.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Why is it so important? And if it is, why aren't we hearing about it?
Well, I won't get into why we're not hearing about it, but
It's another topic.
we have, almost everybody knows about chronic inflammation.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's talking about inflammation. But do they think that magnesium is a controlling factor in every inflammation pathway? Even buildup of histamines is linked to not having enough magnesium. So magnesium is a mineral that has so much control in the body. And here's why I think us as Americans are in a massive magnesium deficit. It's not being put into our food supply. So fertilizer doesn't have magnesium. It's NPK, but there's no magnesium. And so we're eating food where the soil has been depleted of magnesium. And it's like if you imagine that in your bucket you have, in your body you have a bucket that's for magnesium. And so imagine that there's ways you get magnesium in, but there's not a lot of ways unless you're supplementing. But there's holes in your bucket where it leaks out. Every time you eat sugar, it takes 53 molecules of magnesium to process 1 molecule of sugar. Imagine how many molecules of magnesium you lose when you eat a quick sugary snack. And stress. When we go into a stress mode or fight or flight, our body mobilizes magnesium from our tissues to turn that off. And so unless we're putting it back in, we're just constantly losing it.
Right.
And so...
Well, and I'm thinking just off the top of my head, it helps control your heart rate. It helps, very practically speaking, with car sickness. If you're prone, to have motion sickness, it's amazing to me the things that just taking a little bit of magnesium every day, or in my case, I take quite a lot, will solve. And had I not had that one symptom, emerge, I actually, because I was on so much seizure medication at one point in my life, it was magnesium that allowed me to come down off and do a trade like this, instead of a little bit of magnesium, I just started upping it on my own. I told my doctor I was doing it, but I did it after I had already seen it working. And he said to me, oh yes, magnesium's long been known to help the brain. I said, I've been coming to you for 16 years. Why didn't you tell me this? So it is definitely important. And then also, I'm going to ask you, how they can do it. But I want to say this. I did a lot of research on magnesium before I came to you. I spent like weeks trying to find the perfect one. Magnesium taurate is what I landed upon. If it ends with ate, ATE, that means it's chelated, or chelated. It's actually going to absorb better in your body. That's the basics. As opposed to IDE, oxide or chloride, all these things that are a magnesium that ends in an IDE, it's not going to absorb as well. So I did all this research, and I get to her, and she says, you need to be on magnesium. I said, I am. And she said, well, there's really only one brand that I endorse, and it was the one I'd found. It's like, I was so happy, and it explained why it was doing so much. Okay, so after the break, I've got a couple of other questions that I wanted to ask you. This has been really good. So stay close. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching The Three. But it dawned on me that I really need to officially introduce myself to many of you, even though I've been in television for 50 years. My parents put me in my first commercial at age 3, and that path carried me all the way to the Shop at Home TV network, where I was a host. I'm a wife of 34 years to Chris, a mom to 6 adult children, and a grandmother to 8 so far. I'm an author of, over 20 books and ebooks, and whatever I write, you can count on the fact that it will help you physically, emotionally, and spiritually, because my passion is body, mind, and spirit health. I'm a certified nutritionist with a degree in original medicine. And my husband and I pastor a phenomenal church in Nashville called Eastgate Creative Christian Fellowship, where we help people get healthy body, mind, and spirit. So if you're ever in the Nashville area, I hope you'll stop in and say hi. God had a son, but what he wanted was a family. So he sent Jesus to come and get us. Likewise, I had a TV career, but what I really want is a TV family. As you can tell by now, I have always had one foot in media and one foot in ministry, and it's all collided now on The Three. So please become a part of The Three's family. Visit the link on your screen to give a tax-deductible gift and help me purchase airtime that takes this fun, relevant, faith-based show to a faithless world. Some TV ministries would then call you a donor or a partner, but I'm going to call you family. Go to the link and become a part of my TV family today. I can't do it without you. Thanks.
Hi everybody. You know, I'm very sympathetic to people struggling with chronic sicknesses, especially neurological issues, because as a young girl, I was diagnosed with epilepsy, and I used to have a constant electrical storm in my brain which would cause horrible convulsions. Well, those decades of suffering, combined now with my degree in nutrition and my growing respect for essential oils and the amazing healing properties God put in them on the third day of creation, compelled me to create my very own oil blend called Quiet Brain. Quiet Brain is different than any blend I've ever seen because it's comprised of oils whose special composition is sesquiterpenoids, and they can cross the blood-brain barrier, which not all neurological medicines and not even all essential oils can do. But Quiet Brain's 8 ingredients, frankincense, myrrh, sandalwood, lavender, and more, do. Our case study resulted in testimonies of considerable relief, elimination, at the very least support, for PTSD, insomnia, migraines, stress, anxiety, seizures, and more. These aren't medical claims. Everybody's body varies, and so your results will vary. But they are testimonies that cannot be argued with. So go to quietbrainoil.com for our patent-pending oil. It comes in a roller bottle, a dropper bottle, which is great for diffusing, and there you'll also find our nasal inhalers, candles, shampoo and conditioner, and even our gift box with all the products, plus a diffuser. And download the free ebook while there to understand the science behind Quiet Brain. Again, that's quietbrainoil.com.
He does a great job. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Laura Harris-Smith. You're watching The Three. This is the nutritionist, Elizabeth Reed, and we're just discussing some things, so many that we could discuss, but some very basic tips for your health, but also based on the trends that she and I have seen that people are struggling with right now. And so we want to make sure we cover those for you. And a biggie is what I mentioned in my open, adrenal fatigue, adrenal imbalance, I suppose is the best word for it, regardless of what you're going to call it. Conventional medicine often says Addison's disease. And it is said that John F. Kennedy had it so badly that had he not been assassinated, he would have been dead in a year. And so, yeah, what do you do? What is it? And then what do we do?
Well, we've both lived through it. I got pulled over for drunk driving once because of adrenal fatigue. So
wow.
I know what it's like to be in the depths of it. I'll tell you a little story I tell my clients sometimes. Have you seen an old Western movie?
Yeah.
So you know how they have the carriages and the horses that call
Right.
it? So your adrenals are thumb-sized glands. They sit on top of each kidney, right above your belt line in the back. So think of the horses that pull the carriage like your adrenals, your adrenal horses. So they're made to actually trot and go along at a good pace and give you the energy to get through the day.
Okay.
However, if an emergency comes and the bandits run out of the woods, you should be able to go at a gallop and you should be able to run. But when you get done for the day, you should be able to rest, have a little pasture time, have nutritious oats and sleep in the barn, and then get up for the next day. What happens with adrenal fatigue is because of our lifestyle, there's bandits coming every day.
Every day.
And at some point, we're whipping our horses because not only can they not have the energy to run, we're whipping them. And we're whipping them with sugar and caffeine and stimulants. And so they're made to pull our carriage. They're gonna do what we tell them to do until they have every last energy spent, So as they're running with us each day, then we get home and we're so worn out, we don't give them the nutritious oats, we don't put them out to pasture, have relaxation time, we don't get a full night's sleep, and so we end up just repeating the cycle again and again. And ultimately, it's like just in the movies, those horses can just drop and stop going.
Right, you're beating a dead horse.
Yeah. And so I tell people, if you're going to turn this around, you have to start giving the nutrition that your adrenal glands need, you have to give them the rest. Adrenals repair during rest and relaxation, and you actually have to stop whipping them.
Yes, and remove the stress.
Yeah.
I remember you saying to me, okay, you need to remove the stress in your life. It's like, I'm in ministry. Like, I don't know exactly. I deal with constantly other people's stress.
Right.
But the Holy Spirit helps us center, and if we will make those right choices. So, all right, is there anything else you want to say about that? Maybe a tip on what they can do if they find themselves in that situation?
Well, I love Dr. James Wilson. He has a website called Adrenal Fatigue. So you can just type in Dr. Wilson Adrenal Fatigue and get all kinds of information. And also with magnesium, because magnesium does play a role in not whipping your horses. Like Dr. Carolyn Dean, she's a medical doctor and a naturopath. She's brilliant. She's made magnesium her life study.
Wow.
So she has all the goods on magnesium, and whatever she says, you can kind of take it to the bank. So I would say those are places to start. And even though there's a lot of herbals and people thinking about, well, I can do this herb, ashwagandha or rhodiola, you know, if you don't have the basics of enough vitamin C and B5,
Right.
pantothenic acid, and a good B complex,
Right.
then those are basics your adrenals have to work.
Yeah.
Without those, all the other herbs, you know, aren't going to do much. So a lot of people just aren't getting enough of those in their diet, and they
Right.
don't realize the importance of it.
Very good advice. Well, I remember one of the most shocking things when I came to you was that you used the word histamine to refer to foods. Like there are some foods that are histamine foods. So as she helped me identify what those were, it was obviously like an intolerance or an allergy to a certain type food. And as she helped me identify all of those, what those were, and I got those out of my diet, an amazing thing happened. A lifelong allergy to cats and dogs, trees, everything. I mean, like, take me to the emergency room, softball-sized whelps, hives, vanished. It went away.
great.
I'll never forget the first time I walked into a house. I was staying the night there, and when I rang the doorbell, all the dogs and cats, I heard them clamoring on the hardwood floor to the front door, and I was like, I was seeing an allergic reaction, you know, happen. Woke up the next morning, I was totally fine. I mean, there was dander everywhere. And I said, this is because of what Elizabeth said. My body doesn't have to fight off these histamines in my food. It now has the strength to fight off the histamines and the allergens everywhere
So you
else.
could think of it like the bucket example. A little bit of histamines are good. We need them.
Right.
Too much is bad. So if your bucket overflows, that's when you get the symptoms of histamine excess. And actually, histamine intolerance is kind of like a hot button right now in the holistic world. Dr. Ben Lynch has a lot of information on it. You can Google lists of histamine foods. Classic ones are alcohol, cured meats, cured cheeses, things like that, any fermented foods. And there's foods that release histamines, like cow's milk and chocolate and things like that.
Right.
But when you're actually eating foods that you're sensitive to or allergic to, you're also creating histamines to that. So I think what you were doing was removing the foods that you were sensitive to,
Yes,
not
yes.
just the quote high histamine foods.
Okay.
So one of the things I tell people is when that becomes a mystery and you're trying to figure it out, you can do the simple way, which is the elimination diet. You take everything that you've been eating regularly out for like 30 days. And that's
Yes.
where your 30-day faith detox just shines. Because if people will get off their regular diet and foods for 30 days, and they will actually use that to try one food at a time, you know,
Add
the
one back in at a
simple
time.
food groups, then they can actually see what they're going to react
That's,
to.
yes.
And that
That's
also gives
basic.
them time, because you're throwing in the emotional component,
Right.
that gives them time to self-evaluate. Is there emotional factors
Is there
leading
old
into all
trauma?
this? Because stress
Yeah.
causes histamine too, old trauma,
Right.
you know, things that are constantly stressing the body.
We cannot segregate our body, our mind, or our spirit
It
any
all
more
works
than
together.
the Trinity can separate itself, himself. Well, let me just say in closing that one of the things I loved the most about my visit with you that time, the first time, was I was expecting, most nutritionists, a lot of them have like this esoteric, almost new agey vibe to them, and I was going in with antennas high. I wasn't going to rob Peter to pay Paul and cheat my spirit while getting some kind of good nutritious advice that was not based in God's word. And you were brilliant. First of all, when you were a child, your father's a physicist amongst many other things, but he was working at Princeton when you were a little girl, and then did consultations for Mayo Clinic and, oh my goodness, NASA and all of these other people. So you approach, at your visits, they're very scientific. You turn the computer screen to me and let me see exactly what you were doing, and I could hear you thinking in your head, thinking out loud, and yet praying and hearing the Holy Spirit. And that is why that I'm here today, and that is why that I love you. And I'm very sorry I'm overdue for my visit. I've got to get to you. I know. I usually come
You've
around my
taken the
birthday.
reins. I think you're good on your own now.
Oh, no. I will always need you.
It's wonderful to actually see the investment that the Lord helped me give to you from what he brought me through, and now you're going and turning it into a multiplication factor that I don't have the platform for or the desire or personality for. And so it just gives me joy because now you're a nutritionist. We could sit here and share stories, and
You are
I'm
the
just a
wood and
gut.
plank. You are the plank and nails in my platform. So, all right.
and
well,
Jesus is in both of ours.
That's exactly right. All right. Don't go away, everybody. We'll be right back.
Hey, what do
you think of when I ask about your health? Probably just your diet, weight, or a sickness. But health involves so much more than just the body. You also have a spirit and a mind that need nourishing, and the Healthy Living Handbook is going to do just that. It contains a top 10 list of healthy living habits for your spirit, where we'll discuss your prayer life, the Holy Spirit, things you may be substituting for God and not even know it. Then Section 2 contains a top 10 list for your mind. I'm going to help you get organized, deal with stress, help you laugh more, and never be discouraged again. There's even a relationship quiz there that helps you make sure the people in your life are the right ones. Then in Section 3, there's a top 10 list for your body. We'll study the 3 biggies, meat, wheat, and sweets, and other things like weight loss, water consumption, and there's even my essential oils list that tells you which oils help the top 50 common household ailments. Go to lauraharrissmith.com and get your copy of the Healthy Living Handbook today. What if there was a reset button for your body, mind, and spirit? There is! I wrote the 30-Day Faith Detox so you could cleanse your body, renew your mind, and heal your spirit. There are 30 daily devotionals to confront emotional residues from past trials, what I call faith toxins, prayers to refresh your spirit, and then through yummy strategic foods, each of your 15 body systems are cleansed for a total body detox. People are losing weight and gaining faith. Go to lauraharrissmith.com today to get your copy of the 30-Day Faith Detox. Welcome back, everybody. I'm so glad that you joined us today, and I really hope that you've gotten, if nothing else, a little bit of inspiration to make the changes. Did you know that God wants you healthy? Do you even know that? Did you know that He is a healer and He's your healer? He wants to do the miraculous in your life, but He also wants to add His super to your natural and show you how to do those things, cooperating with Him, that result in you having to pray less crisis intervention prayers. The ultimate goal is not just to need healing all the time. The ultimate goal is to walk in divine health. And the best way that you can do that is by making sure that you are feeding your spirit through prayer, time in the Word, being around God's people in a local church, with your emotions, making sure that you stay healthy and you're forgiving people and forgiving yourself, but also the things that we've discussed today nutritionally. So you do those things. Let me hear from you at laura@theTHREE.tv to see how you're doing. And whatever you do, come back next week. We're always looking out for you, body, mind, and spirit. Bye-bye, everybody.